So right now we're going to do the panel called Nanu Nanu, how to bring social functionality to traditional games. So we can have all the panelists come up, and I think your seats are marked with your name tags. So my name is Jeremy Miller. I'm a senior analyst with DFC Intelligence. And later on this afternoon, my colleague Dave Cole, president of DFC, will be giving a presentation on that research that was talked about at the beginning. And what we found that the traditional or the old conception that online gaming, casual gaming, social gaming, in that realm, the only people spending money were 40, 50-year-old soccer moms. What we found through our research is that is obviously not true, and most people in this room know that's not true. And what we're really finding is that traditional gamers, core gamers, they're the ones who are getting really engaged with social media and spending money on social media. So with that in mind, we want to know, how do you take social functionality and bring it into traditional games? How could you, should you, and what's going to work? So we have this panel of experts who come from social gaming, traditional gaming, and have been thinking about this and have been experts in this space before most people even heard the term social media or social functionality or Facebook. So with that in mind, can we just go down the line, introduce yourself, say your name and who you, what you do, real quickly, and then we'll jump right into it.
My name is Dennis Fong. I'm the CEO and founder of Raptr. Before this, I started a service called Xfire. So I actually build platforms to bring social functionality into traditional games.
I'm Dan Fiden. I'm the general manager of Playfish San Francisco. Started out in the industry as a creative director on a game called You Don't Know Jack, and worked in the casino business, making slot machines and gambling devices. Spent some time at Pogo, managing game development, and now I'm with Playfish.
Amy Jo Kim. I'm at Shufflebrain. We're doing next generation brain games. I also do metagame design for both game companies and companies in the web services.
My name is Kai Huang. I'm the co-founder of Red Octane, which is the publisher of Guitar Hero, and we are now part of Activision Blizzard.
And I'm Mike Verdu. I oversee a bunch of studios at Zynga, building games like Farmville and Mafia Wars and Poker and Cafe World. 19-year veteran of the industry, was at EA before going to Zynga.
Okay, great, thank you. So the first thing that we want to talk about is, what do we mean by social functionality as far as getting into traditional games? What are we talking about? So does someone want to field that? Just what's the context of what we mean?
I can try.
Go for it.
Everybody's jumping at it. Well, I mean, I think that traditional games. I think within the context of what we're talking about here, we're probably referring mostly to kind of core AAA game development, but I actually would, question that the use of that phrase. I mean, I think that throughout the history of playing games, most of them have been social, and we kind of, as people who make and play games, moved away from that a little bit. But clearly, providing games that are really a context for people to interact socially is something that's been important, and I think it's starting to become important again. It's my 2 cents.
So I find it helpful to think about the affordances of the platform and in defining social. So if you're building a console game, no, you don't want to post every little thing to Facebook and updates. That's not the platform you're on. Mm-hmm. But Facebook games and other social network games have their own style, and what people are really doing there is they're Facebooking, and they're also gaming, and they're engaging in games. But games that are successful have the rhythm of Facebook. They use the social affordances of Facebook. And if you're there, there's a certain set of things that are accepted that people do that they expect. If you're on the web, there's a different set of things. You might integrate with Facebook Connect or Twitter, but if you're on the web and you want to do a social game, it may have to do with something as simple as adding a message board or putting real-time functionality into a game. It means that whole spectrum of things. So But cutting through that is being smart about seeing what the environment that you're in is, and then using that very well, whether it's a social network or the web or multiplayer functionality.
Yeah, I would look at it, with sort of from two different ways. One is, social to me is, how do you get people to virally engage with your product? So from our perspective, Guitar Hero, we're not trying to get people to do it online. You have to look at the platform that you're on. But we're trying to get people to talk about the game, play together. You have a party, you have a get-together, people play, you talk about it. Hey, you have to try this game. That's part of the virality aspect, and I think all social games have that. And then the second piece, I think, of social gaming is engagement. You want to keep people engaged over the long term. So if I'm playing with my friends, that tends to keep me engaged more over the long term than a game where maybe I play by myself and I have fun for a while, but then it no longer is fun over a long period of time. So to me, those two aspects, virality and engagement, over the long term, are really what defines a social game.
From my perspective, social gaming conflates about 4 different key attributes or characteristics. First is virality in games that come to you versus you going to the game. Playing with your real friends, to me, that's actually what it's all about, is the relationships that you have with your fellow players are based on your real life relationships, and there's huge equity in those relationships. And the games integrate with your life. They're persistent. The use of asynchronous social mechanics mean you can integrate the game into your life in a way that feels very natural. And a lot of the interactions with the game happen on a real-time calendar measured in weeks, days, hours. And the games are alive and constantly evolving. And there are a number of mechanics or characteristics that seem to me would flow naturally in traditional gaming as a result.
Right. Like myself, I think the best example of social functionality, whatever you want to call that, in traditional games is probably World of Warcraft. If we're going to define traditional games as MMOs, PC games, console games, etc. So they've been doing that for a while. They've been constantly evolving. They're taking stuff that the community is building and integrating it into the game. And so is there, besides that, or maybe you want to talk about that, but what's the best example of social functionality in current traditional gaming that you can think of?
So I actually think games like Guitar Hero and Rock Band are delightfully social. They leverage often real friendships and relationships. They're sort of performance-based, so it's fun to watch and fun to play. And they're very accessible.
Right.
I would probably say, number one, Xbox Live, just as a social platform, is pretty amazing. And games like 1 vs. 100,
yeah,
obviously really leverage, the social part of it. I also look at games like, just Bungie.net, again, as a platform, and what they've done with their community and how they pull a lot of data out of the games and surface it in a community. I think those are 2 examples of companies that are doing some really interesting stuff from a social perspective.
Right.